lots of times if a dog is acting up, a dog is going to be jumping and run, and the owner's trying, is to just grab them and take them right off of the ground. And sometimes I'm going to just take them right off and let them kind of go crazy for 10 seconds. And then when I put them down, I put their front legs down, and I'm going to keep the bottom off the ground. And that way they're a little unstable, but I'm able to get what I need to do done. We've got this extended. This is very important to be able to do this. Go slow. Just start slowly and extend. And you want to be able to have a dog do this if they can. It's important. You know the pelvis or the lumbars are out of whack. We're going to talk about that in a second. So we've got this range of motion is good. We've got good extension. You can do them individually if you want. Really good, just like yoga, to be able to put them into extension this way. I'm going to reach underneath with my hand. Make sure you don't squash anything under there. And I'm going to take my thumb, and now I'm going to individually go through each segment, and I'm going to go all the way up into the thoracics, motioning. Now, starting about here, we have the withers, right, and we've got spinuses that are a little longer. You're going to come in, it's more across. So here, if you look at that, it's P to A, P to A, P to A. Once you pass the anticlinal vertebra, you start getting spinuses that are longer, and the facet plane changes from, the orientation changes. If you look, it's up and down, right? Up and down, P to A, P to A, P to A. But then here, look at now how it's at 45 degrees, and you've got to come in at an angle, okay? So you've all the way here, P to A, P to A, P to A, little right or left depending. You don't get a lot, but you can get, PR, PL, all the way up. Once you hit this little divot or the anterior, then all of a sudden your orientation really comes in at the side. And you'll see that in a second. So again, stabilize, make sure the animal's comfortable. Come in, the owner's responsible for holding the head. We're coming across and we're motioning to find out what's subluxated. Okay, so a couple of things that we see is in the rear end, you are always going to ask, is there another dog in the house? Yes, I've got two other dogs. They're big dogs. This is the smallest. We have a Labrador. And what a Labrador will do is do this. And wham with the, yes. And we'll knock these anterior and really subluxate the animal. Just remember, it's not the physical force, it's the shock. So you need to distinguish in your mind when people have trauma, it's not just the physical concussion of force, but it is the nervous system's response to it, and that's shock. And that, when we talked about yesterday, when you read that first page, and they talked about what? This global effect of the nervous system, that the whole thing reacts as one system. It's not like it just does it segmentally, okay? The whole system reacts. And so then their body's in a state of shock. So a lot of animals you're going to see that way. Although they have one focal point that we say is subluxated, in terms of the brain and cord, the whole thing is involved. We do have facilitated segments. That's a little bit different, where there's been injury to a particular area and then the one nerve root is firing at a high rate, or the threshold is lower. It's kind of got to put that in your mind a little bit. So, okay, so we've got this. So a dog coming down. A couple of things that we see in dogs, and we see it in particular in cats, when they're on a lousy diet. If they're on a diet where they've got a lot of corn and a lot of wheat, they're just eating Purina dog crap, the kidneys will load. You'll see this in people too. If a person is dehydrated, a lot of alcohol, a lot of sugar, they're not drinking much, they're going to subluxate on the segment associated with what organ?
Liver.
Kidneys. And liver too. But primarily the kidneys. Now, the kidney is on the same circuit in part as what muscle? You'd have to study applied kinesiology to know this, because we don't discuss it in chiropractic, but it's on the iliopsoas. So when people get a kidney issue, usually the iliopsoas contracts. So people say at any given point, 70% of the world population has what? Low back pain. Is it all associated with people injuring their back?
No,
No, it's associated with a kidney that's on overwhelm, either due to digestion or the fact that the adrenal gland is overwhelmed. People are jacked up, they're fearful, they're anxious, they're subluxated, and the iliopsoas concurrent with the kidney is in a state of contraction. And they say, I have low back pain. Well, what you really have is a central nervous system that's out of whack, an adrenal that's pumping, a kidney that's inefficient, congestion in the kidney, and there's this whole cascading domino effect. Does everybody get that? Really important that you understand that.
In Spain, old people, they, instead of saying my low back hurt, it said my kidney hurt.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, good. Wow, that's great. So we've got so what we see in dogs and cats is T9, T10, T11, T12. There's 13 thoracics in a dog, okay, 6, 7 lumbars depending in the dog or the cat. And we do see where you're going to see when they're subluxated, we're going to see this, which is this. I'm not going to do it here because it's going to hurt, but this will come up, and you're going to see this. You're going to see what they call roaching, where it's going to be like this, and the iliopsoas attaches at L1 to L3, goes to the lesser trochanter of the femur. You have the femur, it attaches on the lesser trochanter, and as that contracts, this roaches, okay? Now, if this does that, where is the disc going to go? It's going to go posterior into the canal. So they say, oh, they have a disc problem. What is that? Is that the primary cause, or it's the secondary or tertiary reactions? Already way down the line. So lots of times, if there wasn't a blunt trauma, and they say, oh, they've got a disc problem, in your mind you're thinking the dog's subluxated. Okay? So we've got all of this checked out. You just want to know the significance of this. Very, very important in dogs and people too. Being able to adjust. We're going to be adjusting all of you today. Yourself, this area, T9 through L1, is incredibly significant in getting a subluxation pattern to clear. That I can absolutely tell you unequivocally, without question. As far as turning the power on, it's up here at C1 and C2. Getting the system to shut down is at T9 through L1. That is being able to get the system in equilibrium between sympathetic and parasympathetic. You must be able to learn to adjust this. The easiest way to do that is with an anterior adjustment. And that's after, I'm telling you that after tens and tens of thousands of adjustments to people. We need to check the shoulders. We're going to do that by just taking this dog, and I'm just going to open this dog up. And we're just going to open the system. And I'm going to make the dog, as soon as they fuss, we just let them go back, and then I'm going to bring them right back, and I'm going to open them up like this, and just let them hang out there. This is not something a dog would do on its own, right? So as you just do that, it feels very good. The moment they fuss, let them have themselves. Don't struggle with them. I'll attempt it one more time, and I'm going to just keep it open like that just for 10, 15 seconds. Once I have that, I want to, you can let that go. I'm going to cycle these shoulders just like I did with the hips. We want to cycle that. We want to make sure that that's really free. They don't have a clavicle like we do. You want to cycle that. If this dog would jump, this probably wouldn't be too bad, but this is about the limit of what this dog could do. If the dog is jumping from this height down, you can imagine this dog doing this straight down, the force coming through this is going to compress, and the humeral head is going to go forward, and they're going to subluxate C6 and C7, C5, 6, 7, T1, somewhere in that transitional area. So we've got this open. This is all good. I've got to check the digits. I'm going to flex the wrist, traction all of these toes. Got all those traction. Now I've got to check the neck. And the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to take the web of my hand and slide it on C6 and C7. This way I'm going to bring the head back. Okay? And I'm going to slide my fingers, my thumb on the left, my index finger on the right, and I'm going to slide up and down the cervicals, and I'm going to lift the dog right off the ground, and I'm going to traction the neck to see if there's some give. This is very taut. So this is, to my liking, he's subluxated. So I'm going to laterally bend. So the head is an extension. We are going to I'm going to take my hand right on the muzzle, and I'm going to laterally bend, and I'm going to switch the hands, and I'm going to laterally bend. While I'm doing all this, I'm assessing what's wrong. So I've got a right atlas, and by right atlas, we mean that this has done. Let's get this right. This has done that. Okay, it's rotated. My finger is going to come right on this. This can go inferior. You do see a lot of inferiority. You can see it, obviously wedged the other way, so it can go. So this would be called right posterior, inferior, right posterior, superior, ASR. ASR. I'm sorry.
There's no lateral subluxation with atlas.
It doesn't translate laterally very often. I do see it on lower segments when somebody will make a correction on a dog. They've got the collar and they're going to do this, and you're going to see one segment because they've got the collar right around the body, and they'll tug, and I have seen that. The other thing that you're going to see when dogs T-bone each other, you're going to see a dog. You can see how much movement there is here, right? So if another dog comes in and with their chest, body slams this dog, this entire rib cage, or what they call the barrel, can totally translate to one side and be stuck like that. You'll see that on horses on occasion. You'll see the entire barrel will be stuck, and you literally have to grab all these ribs and boom, you have to literally, and you'll hear, and you'll get 4 or 5 ribs all moving, but it's in the sternum as well. So the whole thing, the barrel will translate and just totally be stuck like that. So we've got that all going on. I'm going to adjust the atlas on this side. We're just going to bring the head back. I'm going to slide my finger right here up against the wing of the atlas, bring this back, and bingo. It's like that. One of the things we do with cats in particular, but dogs too, is to really traction them out. And when we traction them out, we've got them off the ground. And in the same way, we're going to traction a lot of you today when we adjust. We're going to bring this back and just thrust. It's like an occipital lift. When that happens, we're tractioning the cord. I'm going to just go back, make sure I've got everything checked. Off the ground, motion, 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 all the way through the withers. Motion, motion, all the way. Good, good. Just make sure I've got the shoulders clear. In order to clear a shoulder, we take these all the way out like this, forward, and we'll put our finger on the humeral head and just usually bring those back. They're audible. They make quite a bit of sound. Good job. Good job.